Requiem came out on February 27th and quickly became the fastest selling Resident Evil seemingly overnight. I, of course, pre-ordered the collector's edition from GameStop, which wasn't delivered until a week after the game came out. So I did what any sensible gamer would do and bought a digital copy so I could play it day one. Hey, I took 3 days off work specifically to play Requiem, so by Jove, I was going to do it. I spent most of March playing the game, enjoying my first playthrough and taking a nonchalant approach to getting all of the achievements. I got a majority of the achievements in my first playthrough on Standard, and after completing my speedrun playthrough on my second go-around, I was only left with 6 achievements. Welcome back to Socks and Sandals, and today we're getting the remaining achievements in Resident Evil Requiem. The 6 achievements I had remaining were the old-fashioned way for using an ink ribbon to save, Case Closed for reading all the files in the main story, Bloodlust for collecting 5,000 microsamples with the blood collector, Remarkable Agent for completing the story on Insanity, Resolute Agent for completing the story on Classic, and You Little Rascal for destroying every Mr. Raccoon memoriam. I originally planned to stream Requiem and the journey to getting these remaining achievements. In fact, that is exactly what I did.
Oh, yeah, it is not joking around.
And if you were Lord Guy or Gunler, you would have witnessed this garbage fire that was constantly plagued by audio issues and internet outages.
Well, thankfully, if you get a headshot.
These streams have since been purged from the internet, but since the gameplay footage was the only thing salvageable, Lord Guy, or as he is called by his street name, Nathan, suggested I do my typical voiceover, so here we are. I started up an Insanity playthrough, and my main goal was to get the remaining 6 achievements in this third playthrough. Now, full disclosure, after completing my speedrun playthrough while not healing or using the blood collector, I was able to purchase the infinite ink ribbon as well as infinite ammo, which I utilized in this Insanity playthrough. I also intended to not just run around blasting away with the Requiem, but I quickly realized how insane the zombies were in this mode and that normal weapons were just not going to work. As such, I abandoned that notion.
Fucking 3 Requiem headshots. I forgot I'm not Leon.
The first achievement I earned during these streams was, of course, the old-fashioned way, which was obtained after Grace wakes up in the care center and you find the first safe room. Now, unlike the other Resident Evil titles, there's not too much different puzzle-wise on Insanity, but the enemies certainly are. They are much quicker and don't get stunned as easy. The game seemingly punishes you for going for headshots and wants you to aim for the legs first. With this being my third playthrough, I was able to now navigate the environments and puzzles with relative ease. The enemies, however, posed a significant problem. I honestly could not foresee myself doing Insanity without infinite ammo. It was plenty difficult with it, but by the grace of Grace's will, we made it through the care center and take control of Leon once more. And Leon starts off hitting the ground running almost immediately with a boss battle against a chunk. Now, for the unaware, after your first playthrough, item boxes are accessible from the start, which includes the ability to purchase any weapon previously unlocked. This, in turn, means any weapons previously gained within the levels are no longer present. Knowing this for my second playthrough, I purchased the tactical shotgun and slightly upgraded it in preparation for this fight. And let me tell you, this chunk knew how to truffle shuffle. Obviously, upgraded movement and a lowered stun rate did not just apply to base enemies. Chunk more frequently used his charge attack, and this move would be a near insta-kill. We're talking from healthy to danger with one belly bump. Thankfully, after a few attempts, we beat Chunk and effectively beat another section as Leon. But what's to come for Leon, I will soon realize that his portions of the campaign are no joke on Insanity. For now, we move on to Grace's next section, the basement. This is honestly my least favorite section in Requiem. I think any section in Resident Evil where you are constantly being stalked by an enemy annoys me. It wasn't without its hiccups. I realized the hard way that the girl is no longer stunned by the Requiem with one shot, and getting grabbed by her will leave Grace with a significant headache.
Well, I'm just straight up dead.
Other than a few moments where I had to utilize some quick thinking, we actually got through this section rather fast. After the basement, Grace has to get the helicopter key, and there wasn't much to report here, since it was mostly a run and gun section.
There's a zombie here.
We move on to the Overwatch section as Leon, where he has to protect Grace. On my first playthrough, I only failed this section once when the chef, which I turned to red paste, insta-killed Grace. On Insanity, however, this section posed quite a problem. For one, with the zombies being faster, they latch onto Grace more frequently. 2, it now takes 2 shots with the rifle to kill the basic enemies. And 3, Capcom graciously decided to spawn 2 zombies up top with Leon, one of which turns into a blister head. And with having to keep Grace alive and not bisected long ways, an enemy that takes 7 years to kill is no bueno. After deciding to execute a preemptive strike, we successfully defended Grace. Next, the church. Leon must have worshipped a false god or some such, because these church patrons were not kind to him. A number of times, I would attempt to stun the Blisterborn and Blisterheads with a grenade or propane tank, and would have it explode and do not a gosh darn thing, but seem to make them madder. It was here that I realized that the roles have reversed. As Grace with the Requiem, there were hardly any encounters that proved to be a struggle. Leon, up until Raccoon City, does not have the Requiem. Therefore, we can't one-shot most enemies, so we're forced to use our ingenuity with the more basic weapons. They can be upgraded, but most tight space encounters prove to be a significant challenge as Leon. Once the church had been cleared, we then switched back to Grace for the sewage plant section. I honestly dreaded this part due to the trouble the girl gave me in the basement. However, I learned that the girl wasn't invulnerable to the Requiem, but required 2 shots to stun. And with the infinite ammo, this was no problem. Thus, we made it through the sewage plant with ease. After Leon lays Emily down for a nap, Grace gives up the Requiem, and we come to my favorite Leon section in Raccoon City. Unfortunately, on Insanity, this area was not too kind to me. The BSAA zombies with machine guns absolutely eviscerate you. Not to mention the zombies later who launch anti-air missiles at you.
Fucking shoots. Game, what do you expect of me?
Followed by the section that I find extremely unique in the capsized building. On Insanity, it put me at my wit's end with accidentally breaking multiple panes of glass and dropping Leon into the streets of Raccoon City 50 feet below. Or the machine gun zombies turning Leon into Swiss cheese. But with perseverance and a lot of 12.7mm ammo, we made it through. After a short bike ride, we make it to RPD. And since the story items locations don't change, we got through this section in a matter of minutes. Can we come to the section that speedrunners hate? The orphanage. I honestly don't mind this section so much, and really, since Insanity has been balls to the wall 80% of the time, it's nice to have a break. Once we witnessed a CPS nightmare, it was time for Leon to catch up with an old friend. And after a quick game of hide and seek, we finally come to the second achievement earned during these streams. Once I picked up the Raccoon City pamphlet, I unlocked Case Closed. Following the achievement pop, we then move on to behind Kendo's shop and shoot what should have been my final raccoon statue. However, I unfortunately missed one during the Overwatch section and will have to reload a save to get it. But we'll save that for later. Next up, we have the Tyrant fight, which does prove to be slightly more challenging than I'm used to. I only just staggered him. Okay, again, I blocked. But nothing a second try doesn't fix. Once the Tyrant has been defeated and after a quick game of soccer, we move on to the orphanage and subsequently the final area, Ark. This area begins with Leon descending into a crevice and having a boss fight with Plant 43. This was the first time I died during this boss fight, but much like the Tyrant, I was successful in beating them on my second attempt. Once in the Ark, we then switch back to Grace. I honestly dreaded this stage due to no longer having the Requiem, but I started utilizing the Freya's needle weapon, and discovered that it's actually pretty decent in a one-on-one fight. Due to its long reload time, it's terrible if you get overwhelmed. Needless to say, we progressed through Grace's section with minimal issues, and to top it off, earned another achievement. After killing 3 lickers at once, we sucked up their delicious blood and unlocked Bloodlust. Next up, Grace learns she's adopted, but at least she isn't a mutant. With that shocking revelation, we switch back to Leon. And this time, I had a right to be worried, because with how much I got reamed against the BSAA zombies, I knew the elite soldiers were going to be a problem. And they sure as hell were. With the level 3 armor, their shots did significantly less damage, but your armor did not last long against them. And once it was gone, neither did you. Eventually, we come to a room that in previous playthroughs was hell on earth, one of which that was literally crawling with lickers. This time, however, there were none, and I immediately knew what the game was trying to pull, and my intuition was absolutely correct. After surviving this encounter, only just, Leon takes the elevator and has a little siesta. Back to Grace.
Hey, it's me.
Who then rudely wrestles Leon from his dreams and betrays Leon and releases Elpis.
What are you doing, Grace?
Psych!
What is it?
Elpis was actually a cure. After Victor reappears, cuts off Zeno's head, he then stabs Grace. Grace, realizing Leon is the only one that can save the day, she injects him with Elpis and he steps up to kick some ass. Or he would have if I wasn't the one controlling it. This final boss section was truly a testament to the Insanity name. Not only did he hit like a truck, but at certain times it felt like he was cheating. Like when he randomly pulled out a rocket launcher. It seemed that if he was too close to the camera, the parry didn't work properly. I struggled so much with this fight, I actually considered going for the bad ending instead, just to finish the game without having to fight Victor. But my closest manual save was just before the elevator ride. I did not foresee me getting as lucky with that encounter. So I stuck it out and finally beat Victor's first phase. After Leon incorrectly assumes that he is dead,
Good riddance.
Victor comes back more monstrous than before. Because, you know, this is Resident Evil. Thankfully, his second phase isn't nearly as difficult. He still hits like a truck, or train, and I did have to switch to the Mortal Edge for the increased parry window. But we finally beat Victor, and after it's revealed that Emily had been saved, cured, and welcomed by Grace as an adoptive daughter,
She's doing great. I'm actually teaching her how to read.
Resident Evil Requiem comes to an end. And with that, we unlock not only Resolute Agent for completing standard classic difficulty, but Remarkable Agent for completing it on Insanity. If I hadn't refused to use a guide for the raccoon statues, this would have been my final achievements, but alas, I missed one. So I reloaded a previous save on my original playthrough, did my best to speedrun the Leon chunk fight, the basement segment, and Grace grabbing the helicopter key in order to make it to the Overwatch section to get my final statue. Once the Wascally Wabbit had been defeated, my final achievement, You Little Rascal, popped. And that's it. Resident Evil Requiem has been completed, and that's another Resident Evil to my full completion list. I thoroughly enjoyed Requiem. I still think Village is my favorite Resident Evil game, but I loved Leon's return, Grace was a great new addition, and the loving care that went into the game is on full display. Out of the Resident Evils I've played, it's certainly the easiest to fully complete. So, if you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. I also highly recommend you subscribe if you liked the video. I have several achievement hunting videos just like this one if that's what you're into. Also, give the video a like if you enjoyed it to help recommend it to other like-minded viewers. And finally, leave a comment if you've played Requiem. What did you think of it? And are there any other Resident Evils you'd like to see me fully complete, Village being the only other one? But, other than that, check back next time for whatever I do. Bye-bye!